Hey guys, it's Sam, and this is my spoiler-free review of The Winter of the Witch by Katherine Arden. This was also my Patreon book pick for the month, so every month my Patreon supporters get to vote in a poll for a book I will read and review that month, and this is what won. So if you're interested in voting in polls for video topics I'll do or books that I'll read, I will leave my Patreon on the screen. This is the third and final book in the Winter Night trilogy. I have done reviews for the first two books, so I'll leave those on the screen if you have not read those books already. As per usual, this review will not have any spoilers for this book, but it might have spoilers or hints of things in the previous two, so if you haven't read those, go and check out those reviews and not watch this one. So the Winter Night trilogy has been one of my favorite trilogies, and I do think the books keep getting better and better, and this finale did not disappoint me at all. Literally at all. Nothing was wrong with it. There is nothing I can critique about it. It is perfect. So let's get into it. So first off, I'm gonna talk about the world building. What I loved about this book is I feel like the first book focuses a lot on the other world, the magic, the folklore, the myths, the mythology, all of that. The second book, although it still has a lot of that, focuses a lot more on the political things that are happening and the real world and how that is being affected by things and everything. This final book combines the two beautifully so that you have both, and it's kind of the point of the book in this series. So it is wonderful. You get a lot more magical stuff again, so if you miss some of that within the second book, although it's still in there, I just feel like it wasn't in there as much. If you miss some of that, you get more. It's just this beautiful balance of both, which is again a theme, and I loved it. There's some good reveals about some of the magical stuff. It's just perfection. Next, I'm gonna talk about our characters. The character arcs in here are brilliant. Things are wrapped up beautifully, but also not in such a perfect way that you're like, wow, there was no like loss or fight or anything. This is just a very satisfying conclusion for these characters and for their arcs and the things that they've gone through and how they've evolved and how the first two books have shaped them and the events of the first two books have shaped them. Especially our main character, Avasia. She is wonderful in every way. I loved her before this book, but this book was like the culmination of all of that and all my previous feelings, and now like I would literally die for her. So the arc of the characters throughout this story is wonderfully wrapped up with literally all of the characters. All of them. The villains, some of her family, her relationship with Morosco, the Winter King, all of it is wrapped up beautifully. Lastly, we talk about the plot. I think this book was the best paced of all of the books. I do know that myself, and I think other people, had some problems with the pacing, especially in the first book, it being a little slower, things like that, which I think was on purpose. Obviously, a lot of things about the first book become very important within this book, so I really love that. I love when a series really ties all the books together and all the threads and everything just flows and makes sense beautifully, and you had to have those moments for the moments in here to happen and all of that. So I felt like this was the best paced of all of them. It's broken into multiple parts, and all those parts have a different feel, but they also integrate well into a whole complete story. It doesn't feel disjointed. I never was like, oh, I want to go back to this part or whatever. It all was so well done and interesting, and like I said, well paced, and it's perfect. It's perfect. So I honestly don't have much to say about this that's not spoilery, besides to say that I feel like it's beautifully crafted. The prose continues to be wonderful. It's wonderfully atmospheric. The characters are great, and the character arcs are great, and this is just a wonderfully crafted book. So I obviously gave it 5 out of 5 stars. And obviously I will be doing a spoilery discussion gush on this book, in which I will be going through all of the scenes that I loved and quotes from the scenes, because I very rarely write down quotes to books. Like, it's just not a thing that I love, but I think I have at least 8 quotes written down from this book and referencing scenes and things, along with just like my general thoughts about plot and characters and things that happen. So if you've read this book, I highly encourage you to check that out, where I will be screeching about the perfection of this and how it's a book that's perfect for me. So comment below, let me know what you thought of The Winter of the Witch. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see all of you guys soon. Bye.